Let's move on. Joining me now is Guy Benson, Fox News contributor. We will not move on here.
We have names like Kilmar Abrego Garcia that are household names, celebrated in some quarters, where you have U.S. senators taking up his cause, not just saying his name, flying to El Salvador to meet with him and have these summits to preen in posture against federal law enforcement and the process that we have in this country to remove people who have no right to be here. These victims are extremely inconvenient for those politicians, and so they pretend that they don't exist. That's the reality. There is more empathy for the so-called victims of ICE who are here illegally, many of them with a criminal record, than there are for the American victims of these crimes. And you just ran through 4 of those names. We could go on and on. Jocelyn Nungaray, Laken Riley, Rachel Morin. The list is long, and often you go through, as your team did, and you look to see if some of the politicians from their city, from their state, who have a lot to say about ICE and a lot to say about Donald Trump and all of that, have they ever tweeted or mentioned these names? And in many cases, the answer is no, radio silence. It is completely inverted morally. It is sickening, actually, and I think it underscores the debate that we're having in this country. On the right, we generally believe that people who are here illegally should not be allowed to stay, especially if they've committed other crimes. On the left, they are all in on demonizing and in many cases attacking federal law enforcement who are trying to carry out the law. I don't know how you find a middle ground. I hope we can, but it has been very disconcerting to watch.
Yeah, and meanwhile, you say radio silence. There was radio silence on a violent attack on DHS this week. I didn't hear about it really anywhere. Watch this.
Paramedics' ambulance had been stolen from the ambulance bay. The suspect drove the ambulance north through the parking lot and retrieved gas cans that had been staged in nearby vegetation. The suspect then drove the ambulance directly into the North Portico building, which houses Department of Homeland Security offices. The suspect poured an accelerant inside and around the outside of the ambulance. If the suspect had not been interrupted, there is no doubt this building would have been burned.
Radio silence.
Kayleigh, this was a terrorist attack in the United States of America that happened this week in Idaho. Someone stole an ambulance, filled it with gas canisters, drove it into a DHS facility, sprayed accelerant everywhere, and tried to burn the building down. And we've had what kind of rhetoric against DHS? Gestapo, Nazis, Trump's masked thugs, all of that. And now we're seeing on a fairly routine basis left-wing attacks and violence. I mean, the OMB director, the White House budget director, there was a bona fide assassination attempt against him just a few days ago, barely registered on the national radar. Are we just getting used to left-wing attacks and terrorism in this country? And the media is just sort of like a perfunctory headline, maybe, and move right on to the real outrage, which is, you know, ICE guys with face coverings arresting pedophiles.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And finally, I just want to get to this in a few moments. A 6th grader with special needs was scared to return to class after being abandoned by an anti-ICE protest. Now, the school said this: to ensure a secure environment, the school increased staff presence across the campus. Despite these supervised options, some students chose to leave campus without authorization. At another ICE protest, school students ransacked a Kroger's. What's going on at schools? This is wild.
Well, I think it's a lot of teachers who actually support this, and so they're fine with the students going out there to make a statement. I would love for them to just teach them how to read and write and do math, because in many of these schools they can't. In a scandalous way. Although I think it is, you're seeing the video there of the ransacking of the grocery store during the ICE protest. This is actually perfectly on brand. Lawlessness in support of lawlessness.
Lawlessness in support of lawlessness. That is really, really good. That is not good, but
a
good way to describe it. Guy Benson, it is bad. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.